Good morning, my little Sunday morning littles. I'm so glad that you're with me this morning, even if it just is online and I'm in my office. Um, it's just another Sunday school lesson that we have to do like this since we're not in our Sunday school building. But I did want to take just a second to let you know that if you are a virtual visitor on here with us, we would absolutely love to have you. Of course, we love having you anytime with us like this, but if you would love to come and join our little Sunday school on Sunday mornings, that would be great. We are the Sunday Morning Littles, and we meet for Sunday school every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. My regular little Sunday Morning Littles are my friends Carly and my friends Bryson and Maisie and my friends Silas and Anthony. And then we also have friend Devin with us. Occasionally we have some visitors that come, but we enjoy having virtual visitors on here too and ask you to come join us when we get back in our Sunday school room. We have a really good time. We do, and we learn a lot. We do. Right, so today we're going to begin several lessons on a man named Joseph. And if you watched our lessons on the armor of God, then you know it took us several Sundays to get through the whole entire series of lessons on the armor of God. Well, this is kind of like that. We're going to do some lessons on a man named Joseph. And Miss Michelle's been doing some Bible study on her own here at home. And I always like to do that, but I've done a little bit of studying about Joseph in my own Bible study. And I thought, that might be something that my little Sunday morning littles can relate to. So I thought we would turn it into some lessons for you. So for the next several weeks, we're going to be talking about Joseph and how God used Joseph. Now, let me introduce you to Joseph. There he is. He appears to be asleep in our picture, but I wanted to show you this picture first because Joseph has been known to be a dreamer. Okay, that means he would dream some dreams. Now, Joseph was the son of a man named Jacob. And Jacob had many sons. There were 12 of them altogether. And Joseph was just one of those. Joseph was almost the youngest. He had one other brother who was younger than him. So Joseph had several brothers that were a lot older than him. Now, I don't know about you, but some of you that may have an older brother or sister, sometimes they tend to get a little bit bossy, yeah. But we're going to see that Joseph is going to experience probably some of the same things that you experience with your brothers and sisters, maybe. Now, Miss Michelle did not have brothers and sisters growing up, and as I've been studying Joseph in my Bible study, I've kind of really thought about how some of not only my Sunday morning littles, but maybe how some of my first graders from last year had a little bit of problems getting along with one another and things like that. And I thought, well, surely littles will be able to relate to this Sunday school lessons, to these Sunday school lessons. So I decided to do them, okay? So I want you to understand that we're going to begin with the first lesson called Joseph the Dreamer. And this lesson comes from Genesis 37, 1 through 11. Now, some of my pictures that I've put in here, they're all supposed to be pictures of Joseph, but they may look a little bit different. Joseph doesn't look exactly the same in each picture, but I'm going to kind of read and tell the story to you as we go through, and you look at the pictures and kind of see if they relate to some of the things that you may do in your life, okay? All right, so we're going to begin with Genesis 37, 1 through 11, like I had said before. And in that part of the Bible, you hear the story about Joseph and his dreams, okay? Now, it begins by Joseph helping to tend his father's sheep with his brothers. Now, we know that a shepherd tends sheep. We've learned that a bazillion times in our class, and in Bible times, that was one of a common, I guess I should say, job for many. They had livestock. Many had sheep, and so they had to have shepherds to tend them or to take care of them. So Joseph was in the fields with his brothers, helping to tend to his father's sheep. Now, his father had a lot of sheep, so this was a pretty big job, okay? But while Joseph was in the field helping to tend to his father's sheep, there was a little bit of a problem. Okay, so I want you to look at this picture as I kind of tell you what happened after that, okay? One thing that you might need to know about Joseph is that he was a tattletale. Now, I don't know if you've ever tattled, but in my first grade classroom, over the years, I have probably heard about a bazillion tattles. Yeah, so I know a tattle when I hear it. I do. So Joseph went to his father Jacob, and here's Joseph, and there's Jacob, and he told him about the things that his brothers were not doing correctly. Now, his brothers are older than him, and sometimes older people know what's best. But Joseph decided to be a tattletale. He decided to run to his father and tell on his older brothers. Now, I'm sure you've been there with your brothers and sisters if you have them. Yeah, so you can kind of relate to this, all right? This made Joseph's brothers very angry. And I'm sure if you have ever been tattled on, you don't like it either. Their father, Jacob, always treated Joseph as his favorite son. And this angered his brothers. All of Joseph's brothers began to feel hatred for him. Now, that word right there is a big word, and Mrs. Michelle was a little bit worried about putting it in my lesson because I don't even like the word hate. But I went ahead and put it in there because that is exactly what they're starting to feel. They're starting to feel hate toward him. He wants to get them in trouble all the time. He wants to tattle on them. And his father appears to always listen to him and maybe take his side because Joseph is his favorite son. Okay, so let's see what happens. Now, I want you to stop for just a second because I have a question for you before we go any further, because I know you're probably sitting there thinking, yeah, this has happened to me before. I have a question for you. Do you ever feel this way about your brothers and sisters? Be honest. Tell the truth. If you have a sister, do you sometimes just want to pull her hair out? Yeah. If you have a brother, do you sometimes just want to sock him in the eyeball? Yeah. And if you are a brother and a sister together, brothers, have you ever tormented or aggravated your sister? Or there could be days when your sister has done something to you or tormented and aggravated you to the point you just think you have to sit on top of her to get her to stop. Yeah. So you can relate to all of these things, and you can relate to how Joseph is feeling when he goes and tattles and thinks he's going to get his brothers in trouble. And you can also relate to how his brothers feel when they're tattled on. Right? Okay. All right. Joseph's brothers were also very jealous of him because their father had given him a beautiful coat of many colors and they did not have one. Now, I want you to stop and look at this picture. Joseph has on his coat of many colors. This was a present from his father. But the thing about it was there wasn't 12 coats of many colors. He didn't give every son a coat of many colors. He only gave Joseph won. Now, there's another thing to think about. Have your brothers and sisters ever got something that you didn't? Now, sometimes they have to have things that you don't have to have, especially if it's a brother and a sister relationship. Boys need certain things, girls need certain things. But I'm sure sometimes in your life, at some point in your life, you've said, well, blah, blah, blah got that and I didn't. Yeah, well, that's kind of how Joseph's brothers feel. They became very jealous of him. Okay? All right, so not only are they angry at him and mad because he's a tattletale, they are very jealous of him because he has something that they don't. Yeah. So as Joseph began to get a little bit older, he had two dreams. Okay? And in each dream, Miss Michelle made a mistake right there. So sorry, there's two eaches there. Don't pay attention to both of them, just pay attention to one of them, okay? Each dream, he saw things bowing down to him and treating him with respect. Now, if you look at this picture, this looks like maybe a king or a pharaoh, and the people are bowing down to him, kissing his hand, being very respectful and thankful. Now, this is just a picture for you to look at to kind of understand what it means to bow down and treat with respect. We treat our parents with respect. We may not always bow down on our knees and kiss their hand, but we treat them with respect. But in Joseph's dreams, things were bowing down to him and treating him with respect. Okay? Now, in one certain dream, he dreamed that there was the sun and the moon and 11 stars that were bowing down to him. Okay? Now, this is the dream or the picture that was at the beginning of our story. And this is the picture that Mrs. Michelle may refer to from time to time as we do other lessons leading up to things that happen in Joseph's life. Okay? So I want you to remember that second dream about the sun and the moon bowing down along with 11 stars. They were bowing down to him and treating him with respect, okay? Now remember, this is a dream. And if you stop and think, you probably dream dreams too. Some dreams are probably good. Some dreams are probably not so good. Matter of fact, I had one last night that wasn't so good. I didn't like it at all. But dreams, they're there, and we do that. And a lot of times when we dream, things are kind of crazy. They really just don't make a lot of sense to us. And a lot of times, especially if Miss Michelle's really, 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 really tired, I may feel like I dream all night long and I dream like 45 different dreams. So dreams can be kind of confusing sometimes. But I do want you to remember the picture that I showed you a little bit ago on this slide before this about the sun and the moon and the 11 stars. Okay? Now this is just a picture of a little boy and a little girl sleeping and dreaming. Do you have those dreams? Absolutely, you do. Try to think about some of your dreams and think about the good ones, because I'm not going to think about the bad one I had last night. It wasn't good, so I'm just going to kind of forget about it. But the good dreams sometimes are things that you like to think about. Yeah. So you dream just like he did. Okay? All right. Now, the very last little slide, well, it's not the last slide, but the very last slide that pertains to the lesson that I'm going over is this slide. And you probably know these children. This is, of course, my little friend Maisie right here. I mentioned Maisie being in our Sunday school class. That's right. She's my little granddaughter. Here's Molly, my other little granddaughter. Then we have Connor and Colton. Now, those are my grandsons, right? Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about what I've written here, because I'm going to leave you with this thought in your lesson today. It's going to kind of lead up to next week's lesson, all right? Okay, sometimes when my 4 grandkids are all together, they like to argue. Yeah, fuss, it's pretty much the same thing. And they like to compete with one another for attention. Now, I'm sure Everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about right there. If you want to compete with someone, then you're trying to do something better than they are. And when these four are together, that seems to be what they want to do. One wants to be better than the other. One wants to have more of my attention than the other. Um, in this particular picture, they're all standing on a rock, and we were on a little hike, and there's some water around, and the funny thing about it is, they all want me to look at something all at the same time, and they're all talking at the same time about something different, but they all want my same attention. So I know that you as well have been just like they are. You compete for your teacher's attention. You may compete for your parents' attention. You may compete for another friend's attention. So you know what I'm talking about here. And when they're all four together, I bet I hear the words, "That's not fair," about 4,200 times. Yeah, because if Colton gets something and Connor doesn't, then Connor might get a little bit aggravated. If Maisie gets something and Molly doesn't, then Maisie gets a little bit aggravated. And they had a competition when we were together this day. And this little friend right here, and this big friend right here, and this little friend right here, they got a little aggravated at this little friend right here because she won the competition. Yeah, and it was all fun. They all got something, but they got a smidge bit aggravated at this one because she got a little bit more. Yeah. So I think you can all relate to a picture like this, okay? Because I want you to tune in next week because we're going to see what Joseph's brothers decided to do to him. They were fed up, they were aggravated, they were angry, and they were jealous. And they're going to do something to him next week. And I don't want you to miss it, okay? Because remember, Joseph was used by God in a mighty, mighty way. And we're going to find out exactly how he used him when we get finished with our lessons on Joseph, okay? But in the meantime, all of these little friends right here and all of my little friends that are listening out there in virtual Sunday school land, be kind to your brothers and sisters, okay? All right, I hope you have an amazing week, littles. Tune in next week, but until then, I'm going to pray for a nice, happy, safe week for all of us. Love you a bunch.